if I go back to this campaign over here and we look at the actual campaign metrics at scale, when I started to scale the feed only, I didn't touch this non-brand standard shopping. That spent 60% more on its own. It just started to boost. Now, why? Well, these are actually going after the same channel, the same users, the same search terms. Performance Max is not better than standard shopping. They are almost same CPC, same CPA, same conversion rate, same value per conversion, literally the exact same. They are identical to each other. Why? Because we made PMax, you're not allowed existing customers. You're not allowed warm traffic. When we take off all the that they can't produce, it's the same exact thing as standard shopping. Same exact thing.
Today, we're not going to be talking about Amazon. Today, we're talking like, this feels like a throwback.
Yeah.
A bit. This thing called Performance Max. What?
It's making a comeback.
Is it?
It has to be steered the right way, though. So I have a case study.
Okay.
And I actually have a few different case studies. I have like 3 to be exact. And so we always were against Performance Max. And when I say we, I mean like, a lot of times strategists, media buyers, people that look at like kind of top line metrics. Typically, when you start to crack open underneath the hood of Performance Max, you start to say, there's some things here that I'm not liking. There's a lot of existing customers, a lot of warm traffic, a lot of omni-channel overlap. There's a lot of attribution that I know maybe didn't come from me, but is being claimed anyway. Too much brand. There's always 5 reasons why this could go wrong and go south.
Yeah.
Knowing that we all may wake up one day and Google's like, guess what? Standard shopping is being rolled into Performance Max. Like that, I mean, that could happen tomorrow.
Right.
So before getting caught with our pants down, where we're basically saying like, now what? What I wanted to do is take what I've been using to optimize standard shopping campaigns and brand campaigns and meta campaigns, everything, which is that kind of, the first click CAPI import. And when I say first click CAPI import, the part first click is key. Because that's actually where the original source is. You want to upload the original source. You do not want to upload the last thing that happened and hope that the platforms do fingerprinting, because we already know the platforms will not do fingerprinting. They will not identify where they originally came from. So it over attributes.
Right.
So with that being the case, I said,
if anyone doesn't understand that, go back and watch a few ad labs. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it, but anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's basically, we want to tell Google, hey, this is where it came from, because Google is not going to be able to identify that. So that's kind of like that's kind of what we've been seeing. So long story short, with the first click CAPI imports, optimizing for new customer only, doing full builds with brand included, doing feed onlys with non-brand included, yada, yada, yada. I'm here to kind of demystify a lot of things that people have been believing, and also share with them how things can look, extremely profitable at scale if they set it up the correct way. The key is the data, junk in, junk out, or good data in, good data out.
Right.
So shall we begin?
We shall.
All right, let's do it. So
let's do it.
This is my first case study here, and it is a feed only, non-brand, new customer only, brand being excluded and non-brand. And I even did the whole thing where it's like, bid for new customers only. So we're going to only bid for new customers. I'm setting this thing up in the tightest amount of guardrails, and then we see what data comes out the other side. So we only bid for new customers. We have 4 million customers uploaded since 2024. We have the last 6 months of website traffic excluded, yada, yada, yada. So I took this campaign, and this is the last 2 weeks. I scaled it up last week, though. So the red line you're seeing is the cost. The cost was about 250 to 350 to 500 to 250. So about 300-ish per day. Conversion rate bouncing between 0.5 and 1.75. This is all new customer only, by the way. So the way that we're looking at this here is all new customer here. So because we're only optimizing for new customers, it said, okay, let's do the cost, and there we go. So the red line is the cost. The blue line is the conversion rate. And what you'll see is the cost went up 47 grand. So we basically went from like $4,000 to $51,000 in a matter of 2 weeks. That is a massive push, and I'll share with you the before and after.
Huge.
But what's interesting though is that I went from bouncing around between high side 1.5, low side 0.5 at $150 a day, and then 14 days later, I'm now at 10 grand a day. So $500 to $10,000, and my conversion rate's 1.39. So we can kind of see that the red line went from here to here, and my median point of my blue line stayed flat.
Just slightly down, maybe.
Yeah, slightly down. Down actually exactly 0.3%.
Okay.
Pretty good. So when we're looking at this here, right. So what we're attempting to do here is this last week, I basically went from $7,000 to $43,000 in spend. So that was a 460% increase in a feed only, new customer, non-brand, yada, yada, yada. My conversion rate went from a 1.4 to a 1.27. That is very, very, very good. A 9% drop in conversion rate. That's the ebb and flow you have per week, typically. It's actually smaller than the ebb and flow that we had before. Remember, it was 0.5 to 1.5. Now we're actually kind of flatlining at 1.27. So this is a test of a scale. Now, what's funny is Google says, yep, we're only bidding for new customers. And I know that is not to be true because we actually went and had 273% more new customers and 200% more returning customers.
Right.
Learning lesson number 1, if you click that box and believe it, because you'll see that if you actually look at the new versus returning, you can even see Google's like, like my returning customers, you got one.
Oh, isn't that nice of them?
Man, they're so good.
They're so nice.
Yeah.
They don't want to remarket to my old customers.
Right, exactly. They couldn't identify any of our own customers. That's what's funny is they're like unknown. They're like, we can't. The match rate said 100% on the upload, but the match rate here says like 20% maybe.
Yeah.
So they just can't identify them. So if you're going to listen to Google by saying, I am excluding all of your existing customers, that is true. But they found out of your 1,000, they found 6. And all 6 are excluded. So it's like, that part, you have to understand what metric are we believing.
Right.
And so that's just the first thing. Now, the next thing that we have to look at is, okay,
so super interesting because, I mean, the difference maker really here is first click CAPI imports, right?
Exactly.
Like that's like, if you're not following along at home, like that's the difference because if you don't do this, even with your list and you say excluded, what would happen? It would just be a big retargeting campaign, right?
Yeah.
With all returning customers.
Well,
the key is the CAPI import.
Key is the CAPI imports. Exactly. So if you're saying the first click CAPI imports, this is going to produce the click that even if they convert on Meta, I see here, they convert organically here, brand, direct, second click, maybe they go into brand next, or even like another non-brand campaign, whatever it is. The first click has a highest amount of data driven attribution to the original source. So as this starts to feed itself and it identifies that it is becoming successful and it is able to stabilize its conversion rates at scale. Now, yes, my CPA did go up. That is for sure. We have a top line of 250 NCAC, went from 130 to 197. So yes, went up $65 after we pumped in 35K in a matter of 7 days, or 460% more spend. That is a massive scale.
These guys are super aggressive. You don't have to ask for that kind of increase, do you?
No, as long as I'm below 250, I have a limited spend.
You're good. And you know this customer so well. So anyway. Yep.
Yeah, because we know our LTV, we know our NCAC, we know how it blends. So it's like as long
numbers
as
are completely dialed in. Yeah,
exactly. It's first click CAPI imports on new customers, which means I'm not overlapping with any sort of meta spend. That meta spend's in the couple 100,000 area, and so so as long as we're finding that we're below 250, we can keep scaling. And I have a fairly large time lag in the account. It's about 6 days, even though this may. Whoops.
Oh, I thought it was like 30 days for these guys. No.
That's because if you count the conversion count as every,
okay,
it'll actually lengthen it. And I actually clicked on share and I click share again. But if you click the conversion count of every, it takes an average of your first and your second and your third click over, or third purchase over 90 days. So it might be 37 because it's the average of your first, second, and third sale after one click after 90 days.
Right.
So it averages out multiple. So when we changed it over to obviously just one on the CAPI import here, it's about 2 days. It seems to be pretty quick. So in this scale of 7 days, I'm missing about 2 days worth of the data because I just did it actually 6 days ago. So we're still going to see some better performance coming through about this. So this might actually go right back up to 1.4. We have to see how many more conversions we're going to believe that we're going to experience.
Got it.
So conversions are definitely rising up pretty well. Like, that's heading in the right direction from 22 a day to 55 a day. Like everything's looking really, really, really good. Now, that is with optimizing for new customers only. What is good is we went from a 59 and 30, so 60-30 split. And then this is a little bit more towards the 60-40 split now. So it actually did get more, not more, but it had a fairly decent high ratio of returning compared to new. And it is starting to be like 100 and 220. So it's kind of, it's seemingly holding, but it might be tightening the gap a little bit. We'll have to see how this goes after it gives it more time. Right. But by no means, and this is Performance Max because Performance Max does go after existing customers, whether you want it to or not. We're optimizing out of it, but it is not a deterministic. It is a probabilistic. Right. We're hoping, we're attempting. Now,
super interesting. Is this I'm curious, was this a new product for these guys? Like, what was the impetus for this?
Non-brand, all products. But,
okay. So it's like you just wanted to try it.
I always try to crowdsource everything. I have a big belief in, like, if we look at the products that are in the listing groups here, like there's a massive amount of products here. There's 215. Yeah. So 215 products, and I have a big belief system in Google will sell it if it's selling, and it's only selling because Google's selling it. So it's kind of like you give it everything. What is it? What can it find to sell quickly and then scale? And once we hit the point of diminishing returns, then we break it out.
So it's picking the SKU, really. Like, you don't really care as long as it's new customers.
Exactly. We know our LTV is at least $500 after a year, no matter what we sell, $30 product or a $400 product. So because of that, we have a really nice LTV target and an NCAC target, regardless of what sells, because we spent a whole time, effort, and energy, a few months kind of identifying all of the proper sources. And now I can go up to 10 grand a day without talking to the owner because we know what our targets are.
Yeah. That's great. Knowing your numbers, ladies and gentlemen, that is kind of the skill that you have to understand. tier11.com/MPI if you don't know your numbers. Anyway,
the only difference between marketing and digital marketing is you get numbers.
You get numbers, right, as opposed to guesses.
Right. Radio, TV, newspaper is like, man, I hope.
Yeah. How do you know your advertising worked well? Oh, people recognize me on the street. That's what I used to get when I sold cable advertising way back in the day, John. My second job out of college. I ever told you that? Literally door to door, knocking on car dealerships, and then selling on Lifetime Channel, ESPN. I love it. What was it? The Hallmark Channel was like brand new, CNN, you name it. That was my job.
Do people recognize me? That's hilarious.
I was like, how do I know it's working? Like, they never did. Like, that's why this is so amazing. If you really do think about like the way things were way back then, that was 20, 30 years ago, by the way.
Oh yeah. Well, that I can see for sure. Like, back then, if you're on TV, like you're somebody now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And quite honestly, like, that was the sales pitch, is like, we're going to get you on TV and you're going to be famous, in your little area, your little geography, the town of Newton or whatever it was in Massachusetts. So anyway, on to these guys. This is always an interesting case too. I love this business.
Yeah. So this is clothing. And so here was my second test is they actually need returning customers. Like, that is something that's important to their business. Okay. And so
slightly different goal than the first one where you're all new customers. Got it.
Exactly. The other one is like all new customers does not matter. Just do it and scale as much as you can. We'll figure out the rest later kind of thing. Right. And so for this company, we definitely want returning customers because there is about 66% of their purchases are returning. And it was declining faster than our new was coming in. So what we're looking at is we had new customer acquisition was dialed in, working, growing, scaling, everything's good. Now our existing customers would be flat, sort of decay, and we would see new grow. So we had a test to say, okay, if we launch Performance Max, we're still using CAPI imports on first click, but we're not going to optimize towards a specific event. So here's what's actually kind of interesting. I make a lot of blanket statements that people a lot of times don't agree with, where I say PMax goes warm. You hear that all the time. Standard shopping is better for new customer acquisition. You hear that all the time. And it's not because I'm guessing. It's because of something like this. If I just look at the last 7 days as an example, what we're looking at here is two different campaigns against each other. A full build PMax at $1,500 a day and a standard shopping at $2,100 a day. We have a 15 grand here and a 10 grand here. Now, unfortunately, this one is using a GA4 and this one is using Elevar. That's who they went with because they've already had them installed. And so I said, okay, let's just, we'll do it that way. Right. So they're both measuring the same users. Could be new, could be returning, doesn't matter. But they both are non-brand. So what I wanted to see is if I spend 15 grand and 10 grand, what's the difference in metrics and in terms of top line in platform, and what's the difference in splits? I'll show you this because it actually gets very interesting.
Yeah.
This PMax here has 466% ROAS. This standard shopping campaign here has 163% ROAS. That's a fairly large. That's a large delta. Actually, let me do this. Let me do the last 14 days because that's actually the full test. So 156, 429, 30, 20 grand. This one is fairly new. I think this one actually started during right before this time period. Yeah, but it started right here on the 24th. So we're basically 2 weeks minus a day, whatever. So we got the last 14 days. Okay. So I started that one and we decided to see what is going to happen. So this one, way better ROAS, 429, 156. The conversion rate is a 2.3 and 2.5. Okay. So that's 2.3, 2.5. So now we have to look at why the same conversion rate, but more than twice the ROAS. And if we come over to the side where we have the all conversions over here, what we can see is standard shopping is 450 new and 200, less than 200 returning. PMax is 350, 350.
Yeah.
They're both not optimizing for anything else besides all sales non-brand, period. So let's look at this as a new only for a moment. This is where we start to demystify things. So if I go over to the left here, we have spent 31628, 31628. Divide this by, over here on the right, we look at a 458 new. So divide that by 458. That comes out to be $70 CPA. And then we look at this one here that is spending, and let's do this here. What's that spend? Spend is 21338. 21338 divided by how many new customers do we have? 359. Let's divide this by 359. Okay, so we're $10 difference in CPA. Not too bad. Definitely not more than twice as good as ROAS, right? ROAS is over 2x. Why?
Yeah.
Well, because this 703 is pushed up because we have about 150 more returning customers.
Yeah.
So when most people say, when I'm running just a standard purchase event, my PMax always beats my standard shopping. Well, yes, because you're getting so much more existing customers at $5 and $10 conversions, that's dragging down your average. But if you couldn't identify that and couldn't measure them individually, you would never know. You're like, this thing's getting twice the amount of cost or twice as cheap in the CPA, and the ROAS is 430 instead of 150. Why would I put any money here? Well, there's a few things that we have to look at too. Obviously, the standard shopping is going to drive a lot of secondary clicks into Performance Max. This is for sure. This is very true. And if this thing is fluffed with, hey, I didn't do anything, but I got 150 sale head start on people who are basically 1,000 ROAS, that is the difference there. So standard shopping still better at cold. Performance Max still will go warm. Performance Max looks better because of that, and this is what we're trying to convey as proof. You can optimize toward new customers, you can scale the moon. You can optimize towards everybody 50-50. The data matters. What you're optimizing for matters.
Yeah. Well, in this case, standard shopping is kind of acting like almost a feeder strategy to a certain degree to PMax.
It is. Absolutely.
So if you shut off standard shopping because you're like, well, I'm not getting the ROAS over there, obviously you're getting new customers. What would happen to PMax? Would PMax go more warm? Or even with like that's first click CAPI imports on those, I'm assuming, because I saw the NC on there.
Yep.
So
I'll actually share with you something that's kind of interesting. This is something that I was not expecting, but I understand why it happened. If I go back to this campaign over here, and we look at the actual campaign metrics at scale, what's interesting about this is when I started to optimize when I started to scale up last 7 days compared to the previous period, when I started to scale the feed only, I didn't touch this non-brand standard shopping. That spent 60% more on its own. I didn't touch it. It just started to boost. Now, why? Well, these are actually going after the same channel, the same users, the same search terms. They're almost identical. And what's funny is this thing actually started to spend 60% more and get 31% more new customers all on its own. And these are actually optimizing off of the same exact ROAS targets, 40%, 40%. These are the cleanest I can make it. CPA, 197 to 201, almost identical. They are sharing users. They are sharing the same CPA, the same conversion rate. This literally 0.59, 0.59, the same ROAS, the same value per conversion, 116, 119. These are identical. Performance Max is not better than standard shopping. They are almost same CPC, same CPA, same conversion rate, same value per conversion. It's literally the exact same. They are identical to each other. Why? Because we made PMax, you're not allowed existing customers. You're not allowed warm traffic. You're not allowed. When we take off all the shit that they can't produce, it's the same exact thing as standard shopping. Same exact thing.